Everybody, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where two guys give their takes. Most of the time, they're hot, and we get punished for the bad ones. I'm Rob. He's Germ. How's it going today, my guy?
It's going good, man. We're getting closer and closer to the stuff that actually matters. The playoffs are right around the corner. The playoff race and seeing where all the teams are going to shake out is interesting. It's getting a little spicy, but I'm ready for playoffs.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I think it's going to be interesting to see the seedings because this past week shook things up. I think pretty substantially, and there was a lot of news that we'll be getting to as well. So, for those of you who may be wondering, we're going to go through the first few teams, then we're going to stop, talk about the news, then go through the last few teams. So, in case if you're wanting a little roadmap, that's what we're going to do. So, let's start at the bottom. Dignitas. Dignitas made all the moves that signal, well, things are going to be happening, and we will be going into those things later, a little bit later. But, um, you know, this team is pretty much done. Dunzo, I would say. They traded or, I don't know, sold off River and his contract to Golden Guardians earlier in the week, which was, I think, a mercy move out of them, to be honest with you, and one that River hopefully will take advantage of. But then they promoted Hoon and Exu to take over the jungle, and then Gamsu was moved down. Now, I am of the opinion that this is about as free a win as you're going to get for the last 5 games of the season. I don't really know that there's a whole lot to do with discussion for this team. I feel bad for Bio at this point, and for Blue even, which I never thought I'd be saying, but this team's bad. The org might be worse, and let's go Metaverse, maybe? I don't know. We'll dive
Let's
into
go.
that a little bit.
In the Metaverse, hopefully their LCS team's a little bit better.
Their real video game team
Yeah.
isn't working, so maybe their fake real video game team will work. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you got any thoughts on this interesting team?
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said about it being a mercy move for sure. I mean, yeah, just they're waving the white flag. They're trying to, I guess, sell off anything of semi value, which is, good, I guess. Like, especially times are tough. Maybe we can get a little bit of money. I can't imagine that River went for a pretty penny, but maybe some dollars or something, whatever. Some strange moves. It's like Hoon. It's not like he's like a young, rookie, inexperienced player. It's not, he's kind of older. He's kind of played a little bit before. Like, how do you decide between Gamsu and him? I don't know. XU getting in there is kind of cool. But yeah, they're pretty terrible. At some point this year, I didn't think we'd see much worse than like early summer Immortals, and now we have that.
Yeah, and it's just a sign that while I do think the LCS as a whole is getting better, the bottom teams are still pretty freaking bad. And this is not just in the LCS, for those of you who may want to instantly go, oh, well, the LCS is so bad, blah, blah, blah. I think Team BDS might be even worse than this team over in the LEC. I say that, and I think Nuclear might be the best player of the 10 available, but they're neither team is good. BDS is still only has one win, so take that as you will. Moving on, Immortals, they showed some life this weekend. They had a really, really, really tough weekend, and unfortunately, Inspired just decided that they were not going to win, pretty much by himself, with an incredible steal in the Dragon Pit, and then also somehow getting out. It was an incredible play. Revenge tried to put on his carry pants, and I will tell you that these last like 3 or 4 games are some of the best that I've ever seen Revenge, and it gives me hope that he and Kenby might actually be a really good duo to build a team around. And so, I would say Immortals should be very happy with their future right now. The present is not looking so good. They are now a game behind TSM and Golden Guardians. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I think, is spot on about Revenge. I'm a guy who's never really been that high on Revenge. I definitely think he has been looking better. Whenever you have these pop off moments, is like, hey, is this sustainable? Is this how good you are now? Is this your peak? We'll see. The one thing that I really think about Immortals, and my biggest opinion on them, is the development of Kenvi over the summer split. I mean, think back to week one. Like, he was non existent. Maybe some of it was his fault, maybe some of his team's fault, draft, whatever. But he has definitely come on over the past couple weeks, and he is looking more and more like an LCS level jungler in just his first split. And, I was worried, like, hey, Immortals, they're not so good. Maybe they're a little incompetent. Are they going to ruin this guy? It seems like he's on the right track, at least. I still have my questions about Revenge, but hopefully he can blossom and keep leveling up. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway is Kenvi next year. Is he going to take that next step? This year, who really cares at this point?
Yeah, and on this patch in the last 2 weeks, he is now 11-8 in 22, which is pretty freaking good, to say the least, considering he was 14-34 in 24.
Yeah.
So he has clearly started to find himself.
Mm-hmm.
KDA is not everything in the LCS and in League of Legends, but when you're looking at the kind of style that and the promise that people want for Kenvi, it actually reminds me a little bit of Spica, just on a worse team.
Mm-hmm.
The trajectory, I think, may not necessarily be the same. I don't know if he'll ever be an MVP, but he's at least playing really well. And again, like you said, I mean, I think Revenge, I have never been super high on him. I've made that very clear on multiple shows, but I'm starting to warm up and see what he can do when given the right resources. And there's a chance he could be the best carry top laner eventually in the LCS. I think he needs a little more time still, but given resources, he blossoms and he plays very well. So I think that's very promising for this Immortals team. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna do a really early prediction here. My hot take is that Immortals are still going to not only make the playoffs, but I think they might push to a Game 5 in whatever series that they play. I think that they don't just have a right read on the meta, but I think that there is a lot of talent on this team that has just taken a really long time to get it figured out. So, hot take for me, the week is Immortals not only make playoffs, but they push it to a best of 5. I'm not going to go as far and say that they're going to win it. I mean, that's, I think, ridiculous. I don't think they're better than any of the top 6 teams, but I do think that they will push it to a Game 5 against whoever they play and give them a bit of a scare.
So is that making the playoffs over TSM or Golden Guardians?
I am not going to say, but they do play Golden Guardians directly on Sunday, which if you go and you look at my picks for the week, which will be coming out on Thursday, you will see who I have picked in that game. It's kind of obvious with that, but I don't know. Go look at my stuff anyways.
Stay tuned. Turn your ad blocker off.
Yeah, please. So, we'll go through the other 2 teams, and then we're going to talk into a little bit of what happened this week. We'll start with Golden Guardians. Again, they picked up River, and I put a tweet out that actually got on the LCS, so yay for me. Very happy about that. But they should have one of the best top 3, trios in, a Blaze Olive, River, and Licorice. And you and I have both very much said that with a good jungler, this team should be really good. Problem is they looked really bad. Now, obviously, River came in probably on Monday.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of time with the team, but he wasn't really the problem. And that's what's concerning to me, is Licorice looked terrible in that TSM game. And if I remember correctly, a Blaze Olive was not much better against... Yeah, they put a Blaze Olive on Seraphine for some random reason in that game against CLG. I am very concerned for a team that I figured would go on to win against TSM, regardless of the CLG game, and then would really push their lead in the coming weeks, as I believe they still have Dignitas and Immortals on their schedule. Now things are looking a little bit dicey with their loss to TSM. I I still think this team is better than TSM. I still think this team is better than Immortals and Dignitas. But my prediction that happened before the whole River thing was that Golden Guardians wouldn't make it. Now it's looking even less likely because there's something inherently wrong with this team, and it's weird because it feels like all 5 players at times, even over the weekend, looked pretty good. But I guess a new jungler really does take that much time to mesh. We'll have to see what they come out with this coming weekend, in week 7. But they're in trouble. They only got 5 games to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it really depends if you want to be making excuses for them or if you want to be going hard after them. I mean, I think you can say new jungler. They look like a team that had a new jungler. Yeah, a jungler doesn't mind control and make you int in the top lane or whatever, but obviously jungle is a very team-oriented position. Even your top and mid, they're always communicating information to you, and maybe they had to do that more so. Maybe I don't exactly know, but yeah, Licorice definitely looked concerningly bad. Hopefully it was just an off week. Hopefully it was just a, kind of a one-off type deal, and hopefully they can start to straighten this out. Obviously, all players are up and down. All teams are up and down. It's not like we have a consistent or a whole lot of consistency going on in the LCS as a whole. Right. So I don't know. I'll give them a pass. They've had so much changing throughout this whole year. You're a bottom tier team late into the LCS season, let alone summer split, but all of 2022. You're not going to Worlds. Like, it's a grind. It's a weird year. It's a crazy year. And with all that going on, I don't know. I thought they would be better, but they're still a bottom 4 team. So it's like my expectations were never sky high to begin with.
See, and that's where I think you and I differ a little bit, is I really did think a substantially better jungler, which River is a substantially better jungler than Pridestalker. I assumed that would be something that would push them forward, right? Like, I really figured the TSM game would be a launching pad for them because, their week 7 schedule is 100 Thieves, which they'll probably lose to, but then they go against Immortals on that Sunday with EG, TL, and Dignitas. I would say TL and Dignitas are 2 teams that theoretically they could win against. So, they if they beat TSM here, which they didn't, but if they had, right, then there's a world where they go 4-2 in the last few games here, and you're looking at a team that's got 8 wins. That's pretty good heading into the playoffs, and they would not be a team you'd probably want to mess with.
Yeah.
Because I actually think Stixay has been a bit of a bright spot for this team, despite what everybody has said. Ole is still very head-scratching to me, especially with the way that China's been playing for TSM. So I guess maybe you and I will never get that one.
Yeah, but then Ole dropped like a 7-kill Nami game or whatever. Like.
Yeah, but that was just that didn't matter.
Yeah, no, I know. But I saw some comments on Reddit and stuff that were like, "Oh, Ole, despite all of his efforts, like Golden Guardians couldn't win this one." It's like, I mean, Ole had a good game, but like, was Nami gonna carry ever? Like.
Ole has consistently been a kill stealer in his time in the LCS. Just go back and watch. Like, that doesn't mean that he's a good support. And I don't think he's a bad support. I'm not putting Ole down. Everybody loves Ole. He's one of my favorite interviewers that I've ever had. But, like, there's just something to be said about the way that he plays, and I don't think it really works with the rest of Golden Guardians.
Well, and I think it's how the organization has reacted to him as well. Like, got to be one of the weaker players in the LCS that is getting like the red carpet rolled out by their org or something. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously these mid to bottom tier orgs, they got to latch onto somebody, and it's like, hey, we better keep this guy because we can definitely do worse. But at the same time, it's like there's options out here, especially these days with all the talent coming up constantly in amateur and academy. And even if you wanted to go get somebody internationally, like, yeah, Ole, he's more familiar with the LCS in the United States and stuff, but like, just like talent for talent, Ole's fine, I think. But I'm not like saying, hey, Ole, here's your 4-year contract extension, come be the face of Golden Guardians.
Well, and the other thing for me with them, and I know we harp on the Ole thing every week, but I cannot stress this enough, that it's just strange because Golden Guardians are known for being really good at producing good, young, inexperienced talent that they bring up through everything. And yes, they have kind of become the farm system for the rest of the LCS at times. 100 Thieves obviously being the main, I don't know, the main part of that.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about, the way Anero runs this org and this team, and I think he does a great job. But I just really don't get this one, especially when it looks like you may have had a better option in house. I feel like there's a little bit of friendship that may be playing a role in this team right now, and I don't think that that's a good thing for a team that realistically, if they had a better bot lane, it wouldn't matter if they had River or not, because they would probably be at least challenging for maybe the third and fourth spot even, because Licorice and a Blaze Olive have shown in the past that they can be those types of laners for the team. So I am still confused. Their moves have been very strange. I still don't really understand the loss to Stixxay 1 either, so we'll just have to see what happens with them. The last team to get into before we take our mini break to talk about other stuff is TSM. Now, Germ, if you had told me that TSM were going to find a way to not only win a game, but to somehow be in 7th place after 6 weeks and all of the other commotion and everything else that happened, I would have told you that was a pretty terrible take. Lo and behold, where are we at right now? TSM are somehow in 7th place. They are now basically 1, maybe 2 wins away from locking in a spot in the playoffs. And they still get to play Dignitas. The stars are aligning for TSM after their very weird decision which we didn't get to talk about on this show, I don't believe, but to remove Sol and put in Solo. Now, I've put out a lot of tweets about this. I've put out an entire podcast about this. I feel as though TSM are sacrificing the future for the now, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, when all you're going to do is flame out in the first round. I think Azael said pretty much the exact same thing, and it's one of the first tweets I've had where I've actually tagged somebody like him, and he even liked it. Not that that means anything, but I'm glad that he and I are in the same mindset, because he is a world champion, as they liked to point out last year a lot. Solo looked better. He definitely looked better than Sol. Like, I cannot deny that. Instinct, I think, regardless of how you look at his 06 game, I think he actually still played that game as well as he could have, given the circumstances. And he really does look a lot better. He said in TSM Legends specifically that, this is the first time he's played with a good support. I can't really disagree with him. Chime has come in and already won 2 games for TSM. He's looking really good. And Spica looks strong. Maple, I'm still questioning. I'll be honest with you. He has not looked great to me. But I don't know. Solo has come in and this team looks a little bit more complete and maybe decent is the word I would use for him. Where are you at with them?
Yeah, I mean, the Maple stuff specifically is interesting to me because I think early in the split, he looked really, really strong, and he's kind of cooled off since then. But, like, when I start looking around, like, mid lane in the LCS is not bad right now. So, like, yeah, Maple's kind of getting lost, I think, in the shuffle or in the middle of things. But, like, I mean, you got Abadage, who I love to hate on, but, like, he's fine when he's good. Bjergsen, Jensen, you got JoJo, who's obviously burst onto the scene. Guys like Power of Evil and Blaze Olive, they're not like pushovers. Palafox, seemingly keeps like putting up these big games. Like, yeah, Maple's probably like the 5th, 6th best mid laner somewhere in there, and it's not like he's playing bad. Usually you say the fifth or 6th best LCS mid laner is like a huge insult. And I'm sure obviously TSM hoped he was going to be better than that. And he is capable of being better than that. But yeah, he's cooled off a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Chime, I am glad he's performing. I was super, super high on him coming in. He's a guy who I've been talking about since, the spring split in Academy where he was really looking strong. So I'm glad that he's doing well, and it still gets me really excited about all these guys in Academy. Like, if this is what Chime looks like a couple games into the LCS, give me Busio, give me Ayla. Like, we got to get these guys in the league. Like, they're going to be super, super good. They're going to be super, super fun. And then, yeah, Instinct, I think that's cool. That's exciting. He was a guy who, he was on stage talking about, wanting to prove the haters wrong and all that stuff. And it seems like he's growing into his own. And that's what you need. You need these experiences. You need that '06 game. You need to do that stuff, which is why it's frustrating that Soul's not in there, obviously. But as far as them coming in and winning games and probably going to sneak into the playoffs and all this stuff, that's what Solo does. That is literally Solo's whole career. So, yes, it's maybe a little bit surprising, but once Solo's in there, these teams that they're up against, Immortals, Dignitas, Golden Guardians, they're not all that strong. TSM can definitely make a run to 7th place.
Yeah, which is, again, who cares? But
right.
I've been saying that for weeks now, and apparently TSM cares. So at some point, I'm just going to have to accept that. Let's quickly talk about the news. So TSM had apparently been looking at the LEC spot of Misfits. It has come out that they have said that basically they were just doing their due diligence. I have heard something similar to that, as I know you have as well. I don't think TSM are leaving the LCS. I think that they want things to be changed. I think I put it out there on Twitter as such, saying that I think this was more of a cry for help. Like, we're kind of a, hey, LCS top people, you need to start listening to us. Like, we need to start changing things. Things need to start getting better. I think the LCS is getting there. I just don't think they're moving as quickly as some of these teams would like. I get it. I really would be shocked if TSM were to ever leave the LCS or ever really leave League of Legends. Like, I know people are kind of saying that, but I wouldn't get it. Like, in a league that is still bringing in over 100,000 people for most of the games every week, that's still better than the majority of esports out there. League of Legends, I've said it time and time again, it's still one of the most watched esports in the world. Like, go to Twitch, guys. It's still 4th and 5th. You take out Let's Chat, it's 3rd or 4th. Behind Valorant and I think Minecraft and GTA 5. Like, in terms of games that are watched. In terms of esports that are watched, it's still one of the most. Like, League of Legends is doing fine. I just think that everybody wants to see the LCS get better in North America to be better. It's not right now. It is what it is. But I don't know, man. I just... The news of this felt more of like a cry for help than an actual serious decision that was going to be made by TSM.
Yeah, and, them doing their due diligence, I think that is something they should do. I think it'd kind of be bad if they weren't, testing the waters or at least asking about prices or seeing what's going on or seeing what the market is. I mean, you can always learn stuff from that, and it's just part of the game. I would not be as shocked if TSM left the LCS. I mean, I'm thinking not anytime soon, but I've been on this 5-year timeline, which 5 years, it depends what you're talking about. Like, you could say 5 years is nothing. It's not that far in the future, but in esports, 5 years, kind of a long amount of time. We're talking about LCS is, 10, whatever, 8, 9, 10 years old. And in 5 years, I don't think anyone really knows where the LCS is going to be. I mean, some people are like, hey, look at the last 3 years. 5 years from now, the LCS isn't going to exist, or is going to be a shell of itself, or is going to just absolutely suck. Some people are saying, hey, 5 years from now, this thing's going to turn around. And I think TSM needs to be able to pivot if they need to keep their business alive, or to keep growing, or to make their investors happy, or whatever the heck is going on. I think the LEC move would be strange, but I don't think there's, as big of a pie to get out there, but cheaper players, cheaper probably everything. You can argue better chance at international success, but that narrative, I think, is largely overblown. It just has not been true the last couple of years. I'm still on the train of them potentially looking at the LPL. Obviously, they keep going after international fans, and they want to push the Chinese angle, and they're we're so popular in the East and India and China and all these places. It's like, I don't know if the LPL came calling, they're going to be looking at expansion or selling or something one day. I think TSM picks up the phone. I don't know if they're necessarily going, but 5 years from now, if the LCS is continues to drop in views and views and views, and their content continues to do worse and worse and worse, because without a doubt, TSM's everything is down. I mean, rightfully so. They haven't been a great team this year, but socials are down, YouTube views are down. They're, who would have thought Legends would be monthly episodes or whatever, all this stuff. Like, this has been a crazy year for TSM, so I think they need to try everything. I was definitely surprised to hear that they, were reaching out to Misfits or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not as shocked as maybe some other people.
I guess for me, it's just I'm more of I see what happens in traditional sports, and I realize that every team's going to have their ups and downs. I mean, Cloud9 is the only team that has never truly had a down. TL has had a down. 100 Thieves have had a down. TSM are having their first down. Now everybody's like, oh, they're jumping ship and everything, and I just don't. I don't agree with that. I don't think it makes any sense. And to be honest, if TSM were to leave, the LEC is the only one that would make sense to me because most of their fans are in the West, at least for League of Legends. Now they may have fans in the East for other games, like PUBG Mobile and other, maybe Apex a little bit, but their big franchises are League of Legends, Apex, Rainbow Six, right? League of Legends is their flagship. They have more fans than anybody in the LCS. Not only that, but they have more fans in the LCS than any other esport that they have. And it's pretty significant. Go to the TSM Discord Reddit, and you'll see that. Most of the conversation is based around the league team. It would not make much sense for them to move to the West, or to the East, unless if they really felt confident they could build and have a really good team to start. That's going to cost you a lot of money. I just don't see it happening. Regardless of how much you could sell the LCS spot for, you'd probably be paying more for the LPL slot anyways. Like, there's a lot of things logistically that don't really work with that, to be honest with you. And I think what they want is the LCS to get better. And everybody has been telling me for years that League of Legends is dying. League of Legends is dying. I think the gamer mentality of if something's not growing, it's dying, or growing exponentially, I should say, it's dying, I think is so overblown. I'm really kind of tired of it, to be honest with you. If I really wanted to put a second take out there, I would say that it's one of the most idiotic things that I'm just frustrated with personally for gaming and for esports. Just because something's older doesn't mean that it's worse. Just because something is not the way that you remember it doesn't mean that it's bad. These games have to change to stay alive. Otherwise, they'll become what things like Team Fortress became, which was nothing. Get overtaken by something else. There's a reason why nobody is battling League of Legends for MOBA of the year. Dota 2 has tried. Outside of the international, which is really only popular in the East, which League of Legends still beats them in. I think League of Legends is here to stay. Is it maybe becoming a little more of baseball than football? Sure, fine, whatever. But League is continuing to grow. They're putting out new games constantly that are connected to all their League of Legends stuff. You can only imagine what the MMO is going to do for the game and for the system. And for God's sakes, they had one of the best TV shows of the entire year that brought in more fans and players than ever before. League of Legends is not going anywhere anytime soon. Their flagship is here in the LCS, whether people like it or not. And they're going to find a way to bring in viewers. Once everything gets integrated into the high schools, into the colleges, and really starts to become more of a, I think, countrywide thing. I'm even working with some people who are trying to put league teams down in underprivileged schools and stuff like that. I think that it's going to take a little while. It's definitely going through a lull, but I think it's more of a plateau than an actual decline. So I know it's a lot to put out there, but I really would push for everybody to not give into the whole meme of, well, it's dying. The numbers do not suggest that. We just gotta be patient, which is not gamers' number one thing.
Yeah. It's everything's on a short timeline, everything's short-sighted. But also, I do think that a big part of the conversation is the financial piece and the financial aspect of it as well, which Reggie has definitely been, outspoken about, of how I'm sure he's not showing his entire hand or anything like that, but he's been outspoken about how his team is doing, how the LCS team's doing, how the LCS is doing in general. Obviously, they spent a lot of money this year. You can't imagine they got a great ROI on that. So I don't know. I think the idea has to become more and more interesting. Yes, moving east would be an immediate, downgrade in the near term. But like we're saying, hey, you gotta, look at the bigger picture too. And I think it would be interesting. And I do think it is very, very far-fetched, especially logistically. But I do think that if anyone can do it, it's like G2 or TSM. If there's any, team that can go, like they're going to have brand recognition there. You hear the chants everywhere. Everyone knows it. Like, yes, it would be crazy. Yes, it would be insane. But, that's the ideas we got to float out there sometimes.
Oh, no doubt. And I think another crazy idea, and not to move us on, because I think we could do a whole podcast on this discussion, by the way. And I think Germ and I have had a lot of really good, constructive talks about TSM specifically and their moves. And listen, real quick here, the reason we all talk about TSM is because they are the most popular team. They are the team that people care about what they're doing the most. They are the team that people either root for or love or hate, right? That is just how it is. They are the LCS for right now. That could be changing, but right now, they are still that. People still care a lot about their successes and their failures. A team that nobody really seems to care about, including themselves, is Dignitas. Now, there are rumors out there that there are teams moving. I think this is probably, in my opinion, the number one team to be moving, and they decided apparently that they're going to start focusing on the metaverse. I don't really understand that move.
I don't even know what that means.
I feel like that's something that the 76ers, their majority owner, must be pushing for some reason. I'm sure they had some Facebook person come to the NBA and give a presentation, talk about the metaverse, and I don't know. I don't get it. I think it makes sense for like way down the future, but we're not really in Sword Art Online right now. Guys.
Yeah, no,
that world is not there.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. I was just talking about that the other day with some people of like, okay, Facebook and Meta, whatever, they're talking all about the metaverse. They're spending all these billions. Now these teams, people, and it's like, the metaverse isn't even a thing right now. It's like there's like a couple like VR chat like apps and games and stuff, but outside of that, it's not like there's some like booming economy or like massive, there's some crypto stuff and there is some games that pop off for like a month or whatever. It's like the next big game that like gets streamed on Twitch for a couple weeks and then dies or whatever. It's like there is not one place. If you say, hey, we're going to focus on the metaverse, that literally doesn't even mean anything right now. No. And it's crazy because like you're talking to the gaming community, like, okay, we're deep in this, we're internet, we're doing all this stuff all the time, technologically savvy, all this stuff. And I literally have no idea what they're even talking about. So what about the 99% of other people? Like you're already taking esports, which they've, largely failed in, and it's very niche and a small pie, and you're chopping it down even further to something with less money, more it's just like it reads like a meme. It reads like satire. It's like there's no way. I don't know. It's weird, and I don't think there's anything else you can even say.
I think what it is that the org itself, like you said, is doing terrible, and either the owners of just the org itself or the NBA owners are saying, "Wow, look at what Misfits just got." Somewhere in the realm of $30 to $40 million. We don't know exactly the amount yet. Maybe we should try to do that, because there are people, like, again, another reason why the LCS is not dying, there are going to be 10 to 20 to 30 suitors to try and buy that spot. People want that spot because it is valuable, because League of Legends is pretty stable right now. Dignitas are just, it's very clear to me, like, if there's, almost every sign, like, today was just another sign to me that the rumors I'm hearing of a team, somewhere between 1 and 3 teams trying to leave the LCS, Dignitas seemed to be the first one on my mind. Let's quickly talk about potentially the other two, because I do think that that's a worthy discussion. I could see Immortals, I could see Flyquest, and I could see Golden Guardians. Those are really the only other ones. I think, and it's sad because I think Flyquest shouldn't be one, but They've always operated on a lower budget. Again, by the way, 3 of these 4 teams are owned by actually, yeah, 3 of these 4 teams are owned by NBA teams. So you can see a bit of a pattern there.
Right.
I think what we need is teams owned by people who give a shit and who are going to come in and actually care about making the league better and the teams better.
Definitely.
And, you know, it's sad for those people and those players, but I can tell you most of the people and most of the better players on these teams are going to find jobs. I promise you. They'll be fine. I would love to see Flyquest stay, personally. I'm disappointed because I think Golden Guardians is still one of the better names, actually, in the LCS. They just haven't done anything with it, really. And Immortals are also a storied org, along with Dignitas, but I don't know, man. If I had to bet, I would say it'd be 2 orgs out this offseason. It seems like they're ripe timing to. Right now, I think it's actually Flyquest and Dig, but we'll have to see. I have some information that I'm not able to share and reasonings why I would think maybe Flyquest, but I'll give you guys, I guess, a little bit of hinting here that I think that they might be one of them.
Yeah, I know. Like when I'd put out some stuff, obviously the tweet popped off a little bit. It seems like it's something people are interested about and excited about. I know the most common responses I got from everybody was like, "Oh, I bet it's Dignitas and Immortals," and then the second most popular response was, "Oh, I hope it's Dignitas and Immortals." So like, I just thought that was funny, and I do seem they've been kind of you talk about how they're storied and historic franchises and stuff, but it's like they are. That's like kind of unfair because they're both shells of themselves. Like this is not, Noah's Immortals team. This is not Cutie Pie Dignitas. Like it's just a skin on lifeless orgs at this point. Immortals maybe looking a little bit more lively, but both towards the bottom. I do think Flyquest is probably a team that people kind of discredit in this conversation a little bit. So I think it's interesting that you're pushing a little harder for them because it seems like, and I don't follow like the whole esports world super, super close, but from what I've heard, they don't do a whole lot outside of League of Legends where maybe other teams have their hands in a little bit more stuff. So maybe that makes Flyquest even more likely to be gone from what I've heard. But yeah, I think change is coming. I think change is good overall. It's kind of weird because franchising was supposed to be, we're long-term partners and stability and all this stuff. And it seems like they probably weren't supposed to change things this much this fast. We could have up to 5 teams changing between the LEC and LCS. But I think it's not horrible.
Sorry, forgot I gotta unmute. My dogs were barking. It happens in traditional sports, especially at the beginning of them, like a lot. Expansion was more likely, but there have been teams, cities, technically, but teams still that have come in and bought spots from people, like a lot in baseball, football, basketball in the first 50 years. If League of Legends is going to be something that lasts for 100 years, which I don't know, but if it were to, this kind of stuff is going to happen very early on, realistically all the time. So I don't, it doesn't bother me that much. What is interesting is the teams that it is happening to. Immortals and Dignitas bought back in. If you remember, they bought some of those spots, so it's like kind of 2 of the same spots that kind of keep getting moved out, which to me is fine. That doesn't bother me. That means that we have at least 6 to 8 very consistent orgs that are committed, that are trying to be good. And when you look at their all-time records, there are very clear distinctions between, the teams that seem to give a shit and the teams that don't. I would rather continuously cycle through teams at the bottom until we get to 2 teams that care. That's my opinion on it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Immortals and Dig go either, to be honest with you. And good riddance. If they don't want to be there, then fine. Who cares? Like, let's get people in here. Like you said, Mr. Beast, I know, is your big one. More and more I think about that one, the more and more I'm like, yeah, let's get a Mr. Beast team in here. I think Team Beast would be a stupid freaking name, but I don't care at this point. As long as they're going to go in there and they're going to try and they're going to, bring up young talent, which I think most new teams should try to do, is build their own team of young guys. they can build around for their future and make their faces of their franchise, then I'm all in, man. I'm all in for that. I would love to see like these two teams come in and really push the league, and then I don't know, 2024 we have two new teams being added because Riot wants to make $45 million, more times. So yeah, this has been a long conversation, but I do think it is an important one.
Yeah.
It's just as important as what's going on for playoffs. Any final thoughts on these?
Yeah, I mean, my last thing is just I do hope that whoever comes in either succeeds or fails openly and at least gives it a shot, at least tries. Like so many of these teams are just failing without even ever giving themselves a chance. And it's like, I think, Mr. Beast, or I think like Rick Fox, like these people who win, lose, draw, whatever, they were going to be there. They were going to be available. Even in losses, they were growing their fan base. They were growing closer to their existing fans. You could tell that they cared. They were a person. It's like what makes me appreciate, like, Carlos for G2. He's done some shady stuff, some sketchy stuff. You might love him, hate him, whatever, but I at least appreciate what he does. And like, there was almost no world where G2 wasn't going to be successful eventually. And so many of these teams, there's no world where they were going to be successful ever. So I at least hope we get somebody who gives themselves a chance to succeed.
And that's what's going to be, hopefully, the future that we are looking at. Moving on, let's get into the upper tier teams, because there is a very clear separation right now. Yeah. There is a 3-game split between 6th and 7th place. So those 4 teams that we were talking about, realistically, those 3 teams are battling for the last 2 spots. Top 6 are essentially locked in. I mean, it would take a pretty massive losing streak from anybody not named Evil Geniuses and 100 Thieves to go to those bottom spots. Both of those teams are already locked in for playoffs, actually, with their wins on Sunday. Let's start at the top, actually, because I think it's a little less interesting. Evil Geniuses were taken to the brink, I would say, against Immortals, but I love that. I want them to be taken to the brink. I want them to almost lose, even if it's against bad teams. Like, they are learning so much more than just rolling over these teams, and we're seeing just how good Inspired is. I mean, we go time and time again about Danny and JoJo and everybody else. Like, put some respect on this man's name. He is going to probably win MVP. He is by far the best jungler in the LCS, and he might be the best player. You and I have talked about this before. I definitely wrote it somewhere at the beginning of the year. I think Inspired was the biggest pickup for the LCS. He seems committed to wanting to be here too. They're going to pay him a lot of money. He's going to continue to play hard and win games. And I think he said in an interview with us, he's kind of tired of people talking just about JoJo and Danny. He's also like 20 years old and playing out of his mind. I mean, damn, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. The rest of the team can have a bad day, and one of these 5 players are going to find a way to win them a game. I mean, Impact looked awful this weekend. I can tell you from my fantasy team, he did not help me whatsoever. Yeah. But it just doesn't matter. They win anyways. I love it. I'm wearing this jersey because I love this team. They're so fun.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, like, if you were going to have somebody have a bad weekend, especially in an LCS regular season, like, have it be Impact. He's got nothing to prove. He's got nothing to play for in these regular season games, and just the confidence of this team, the fact that Impact, I mean, what was he? Was he 0-7? Like, it was something just ridiculous. Yeah, he was
totally useless. He finished like 1-8.
Yeah, 1-8 on the Gwen, and they can win. I mean, who would have thought that coming into the year? That's got to be a great sign for these guys. And Impact's going to be okay. I don't think this is the end of Impact. So, yeah, I mean, it is cool. Yeah, and you need your players to have those big moments. You want to win an MVP, you got to have that MVP moment. You got to face some adversity. I thought this was like, with how rough the weekend went, it still was like best case scenario for a rough weekend for EG, which I thought was cool. And, yeah, Inspired, just insane. Like, I still don't fully understand how he even ended up on EG in the first place, but I'm glad he
did. Rogue just had a mental break, I guess. I don't know. Very strange to me. Moving on, 100 Thieves. Technically the second best team. I still would argue that it's Cloud9, but we'll say it's 100 Thieves for right now. They had a pretty easy week. They're doing they're taking care of business. Abadage is looking better and better, which was their weak spot. Now it looks like it might actually be Someday, which is weird because he's still not playing that badly either. 100 Thieves are not a bad team. They are a very good team. They are like an A- team. You know, you got your S team. They're kind of like in that A- tier. They're still very, 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 very good. And I think anybody who takes them granted or doesn't, like, they're 10-3 for a reason, guys. And they're one of the only teams to beat Evil Geniuses in a game that wasn't just a fluke. Like, they took them head on and just Wally stopped them. I don't know, whatever weird wording you want to use for it, that you learned from your growing up times. I don't know. This team's fun. They're good. They're gonna be there. I expect them to make Worlds. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the criticism I see a lot on Twitter, Reddit, and stuff after this weekend is like, okay, you had what, Dignitas and Immortals? Yeah, Dignitas and Immortals, and like, we would have liked to see you maybe ramp it up in one of those games, maybe, you know, like really stomp it, but that's just not how they play. That's just not what they do. They have their style, and they're not going to change it. They don't care what anyone says. They don't care what happens. They have a huge lead against Dignitas. They're going to dot their I's, cross their T's. They're going to close it out. They're going to, I mean, they love to team fight. They're going to team fight. They're going to get to flex and show off. And yeah, neither win was, I mean, it's crazy because like the Dignitas win especially was absolutely dominant.
Oh, yeah.
In a weird way. Like, it's not like they closed it out at 15 minutes or nothing, but it's not like Dignitas was ever gonna win or anything. So I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, they're super, super good. They're gonna be good in playoffs. Seems like their players step up too. Abadage definitely looks way better than he did at the beginning of the split. This team's good. I get why people still make fun of them and still talk crap about them because it's not even that it's not pretty. It's just not exciting. But they're
I would say
good.
exciting's perfect. I would say exciting's the perfect way to put it. They're not exciting, but they're good.
Yeah.
A team that is exciting is Cloud9. They are now 8-2 with this main roster, which would theoretically make them the second best team in the LCS.
Yeah.
Berserker is unbelievable. When Blabber doesn't randomly play Kindred into nothing, this team's nearly unbeatable. Fudge can take over whenever he wants to. I would actually say the carries on this team are Fudge, Blabber, and Berserker. I think Jensen's just a really nice set piece that they have. And I don't really think it matters who they put in the bot lane, to be honest with you. They just need to follow Berserker around or follow Blabber around, and they'll win. Good for Sven. He looks fine. He looks solid. I really love this team. I'll be honest with you. This is easily one of my favorite teams in the LCS right now. I fully believe that this team could very easily make a run and actually challenge Evil Geniuses. I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see it happen until Super Week, but then at the same time, I'm really excited for Super Week. So, yeah, Cloud9, to me, are the second best team in the LCS right now. Really sorry to 100 Thieves. I know you guys just beat Evil Geniuses, and you guys are probably like, what do you mean? But if I got to take one over the other, I think it's Cloud9. And I think, to me, right now, they are cementing themselves as the top three. Between Cloud9, 100 Thieves, and EG, I think that's all who's going to Worlds at this point, and I am actually very unbelievably happy about that, because those are three really good teams.
Well, I mean, that was this. I know this isn't a super hot, spicy take, but that was gonna be my hot take as well for this week. That those were gonna be the three teams going to Worlds, which like is crazy because in some corners of the internet they're like, okay, yeah, TL sucks, like that's not spicy at all. But in some corners of the internet they're still like, you idiot, look at this Team Liquid team. Like, you think Core JJ is not gonna step up in the playoffs? You think Bjergsen's not gonna step up in the playoffs? It's like, I have been on the TL bandwagon the whole year. I've been talking them up. I've been saying, hey, it's going to come around. It's going to happen, whatever. And like, yeah, this was my weekend of getting off of it, but back to Cloud9. Such a good weekend for them. Flyquest.
Huge weekend.
Flyquest and TL. Like, if you are a team trying to crack into the top three, those were the two teams between you and the top three, and you took them both down in the same weekend. That's like literally at this point in the season, it's like crazy how the schedule worked out. That's about as good of a weekend as you could have asked for. Like, hey, CLG's on a run all of a sudden. Like, maybe you wanted to play CLG too. I don't know. I don't think Cloud9 needs to prove themselves over CLG, but yeah, beating both those teams. Berserker, I believe I saw on Twitter, 14-0-14 weekend. And it's crazy because like, yeah, people are, oh, Zeri's broken, or oh, on the pentakill, like everybody's low, he just came in and cleaned it up. Like, yeah, he makes so many of these plays and moments look easy, and he gives himself a chance to do that. And yeah, he's on a good team that's going to set him up to make some plays, and that's what makes his team scary. Like, Berserker doesn't need to absolutely 1v9. He can be patient. He can probably play the game how it's supposed to be played rather than trying to, go Superman or something. I think this team's so fun. They all have huge champion pools. Really, they could pick anything. And your point of Jensen not necessarily being a carry, I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like, seeing that Orianna from him, like, okay, Orianna's one of his best champions. Put the ball on Blabber. Put the ball on Fudge. Like, that is amazing to me. That's a great option. And I know Jensen in the past, he's played Zillion. He's played like Vigar, which, can be more kind of zone control-y and for the team and stuff. I don't know. I really like this Cloud9 team. And yeah, it seems like they're 8-2, like under the radar just because they're actually 8-5, but like they're 8-2.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. And I can't say enough about how much I love this team. Like, and let's not forget, like, one of their losses was a weird, fluky loss to Immortals. Like, they should be, like, 9-1 or something like that. I mean, I really don't know. When it comes down to my picks for EG versus Cloud9, I don't know who I'm going to pick right now. I'll be honest with you. I like, with against 100 Thieves, sure, I did pick EG and 100 Thieves won. Like, good for 100 Thieves, but, like, don't know who I'm going to pick for Cloud9 and EG. I don't think it's very clear, and I think I'll probably end up leaning EG, but I don't have any problem picking Cloud9. Like, I'm not going to feel like I'm an idiot for picking them, because I do think they're that good. So, yeah, we're going to have to see what happens, but I'm really excited. Yeah. I love seeing the top 3 teams being this good, honestly. I really do. This is all we could hope for. This may be the best 3 individual teams that we've sent to Worlds ever, and that is such a great thing.
Definitely. And I keep talking about it, but yeah, I'm so excited for the playoffs. Like, one awesome year to get the fans back. Houston was so sick, and I think Chicago's gonna be better. Like, now that you have Cloud9 as a legitimate team. Cloud9 at the end of last season was not a legitimate team. You throw Cloud9 in the mix. TL, I'm very down on them right now, but I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna be glued to the TV of just like, is TL gonna figure it out? Is the great 100 Thieves gonna show up? Is playoffs closer gonna show up? What's Berserker gonna do? Is EG gonna defend the title? Like, those 4 teams with Flyquest and CLG having an outside shot of at least creating some chaos. This is probably going to be, or at least, you never know if it's going to deliver or not. I feel like we say this a lot of times and we get some 3-0s and stuff, but at least on paper, chance to be the best LCS playoffs ever.
And that's where we'll continue on then to CLG. They had easily the easiest weekend, Immortals and Dignitas, if I remember correctly. Good for them. Getting to 8-5, I think, is pretty... No, it was Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians, yep.
Dignitas, excuse me.
Yep.
Good for them. I mean, seriously, I give them all credit for still taking care of business. Halifax is looking good. Contracts is looking good. They had a game where Big Dokes went off. They had a game where Luger went off. I still don't think they're a very good team, but I still think that they're a much better team than I expected them to be, and a much better team than most of the league, which is good. Like, they're not... I don't think they're going to really challenge our top 3 teams. They're playing well. They're winning games. They're 8-5.
Right.
This is probably the best CLG team we've seen in like 3 or 4 years. So, again, great for CLG fans, but I'll be honest, I think this team is probably 2-out, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and I still definitely think they're worse than Flyquest too. But yeah, I mean, they're 8-5. That's pretty crazy. I mean, that is actually a good record. And they are, the NA talent team. They are the inexperienced, some of them more experienced, but getting their second chance. Like, they are a team of, like, uplifting stories and stuff. And overall, I think just the fact that a team can do this, I think is great for CLG. But I think that's great for the LCS, because if you are a Dignitas, an Immortals, whoever, even TSM to some extent, you can look at CLG and be like, hey, CLG is significantly better than us right now. They have 8 wins. We hope to have 8 wins next year, hopefully in one of these splits. And you can do it with an Academy All-Star team. Like the real good, talented players from Academy, or even some of the guys who, like I said, like contracts, getting a second chance and stuff like that. And I know that we still haven't really proven it to the rest of the world yet, so people still doubt, but like there is talent here. There is players worth building around. And that makes it even more frustrating to me that the top teams have been so down on NA players over the last couple years, behind the scenes pushing for the imports and trying to get even minor regions to be imports here. And we brought in Osh and all this stuff. Cause it's like, man, if we would have we're going harder now. I think we're on a good track. We're going in the right direction. But if we would have done this like 3 or 4 years ago, where would we be right now? Obviously there's nothing we can do about that now, but it makes me wonder.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Moving on, because I know we're starting to run out of time here, unfortunately. We'll go to Flyquest next. They had a nearly impossible schedule for where I think they're at right now, and I think it's pretty clear that they are not a top 2 team. And I think it was very much solidified this weekend. Neither game was very close. I think a little disappointing even for me. I really thought that they'd put up a bigger fight, and It's not like they were like taken down or beat by one lane or one player. They were thoroughly beat. That being said, they're still good, and I still think they can push for that 3rd spot and maybe surprise people. I don't think their 7-6 record is at all indicative of what this team is going to be. I believe their losses so far are to Cloud9, 2 to Evil Geniuses, a random 1 to Immortals, Team Liquid, and 1 to TSM. So, not the best losses, but they're really not a bad team overall. I think they were starting to find some consistency. This O2 weekend didn't help them, but I still think they're a really fun team. I really do believe that this is just the beginning for Flyquest. I really hope they do stay in the LCS because I like this group of 5 players, and I think if they play together a little bit longer, they're going to be really good. We just saw the limitations of some of these players for right now, in only some of their second splits, first splits for Philip. So I like this team. It's hard to dislike this team, and I really, really, really hope that these last 5 games, they can prove that they are not just barely a 6th place team, but like I want to see them push into those upper echelons. They're only a game behind Cloud9. Cloud9 could drop a random game, and they're right there, right behind them. So, I don't know. I like this team. I personally think that they are the 4th best team in the LCS right now.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of people who were still hanging on to, Flyquest, are they going to Worlds? Can they go to Worlds? I think Mark Z had that as like one of his hot takes this weekend or whatever. I do think for me, this weekend kind of put that to rest. Like you said, They weren't probably going to win either game, but I would have liked to see them put up more of a fight because I do think that you can argue C9 is the 2nd best team or whatever, but I think 100 Thieves is very much in that conversation, and I think 100 Thieves puts up a better fight against both of these teams. So like, okay, then you're putting yourself outside of the world's picture there. I think it's really unlikely, especially in a best of 5 where the more games you play, the kind of the best of 1 volatility starts to teeter out a little bit, and you start to get the better team usually is going to win in a best of 5, and I don't think Flyquest is top 3. So this did kind of I had some curiosity in my mind of like, hey, can Flyquest actually go to Worlds? Like, do TL and 100 Thieves actually suck? But an O2 weekend, even though it's against 2 good teams, makes me hard pressed to really be too excited about Flyquest. But that being said, the position they're in, still, I think they're a top 5 team in the LCS going forward in the future. That's awesome, especially dollar for dollar, and with the cool things they've been doing. They have built an organic fan base, and somebody's got to be the 5th best team. Somebody's got to be middle of the pack. It's not like a insult or something. It's just, hey, I don't think they're going to Worlds, but I like where they're at.
I think they're set up for the future, and I think that's what's really important for a lot of these teams. Like, for a team that wasn't expected to do much, and a team that is clearly trying to position themselves to be better in the future, this is what you want. I think every team in the LCS needs to take note right now. When you are building a team for the future, if your team can reach 5th, 6th place as a younger, mostly developmental team to a certain degree, this is what you want. Because they're only going to get better the more they play together and the more that they grow together. So I mean, we've seen it with Honor Thieves. This is kind of that build path, and I like it a lot. Let's head to this last team here. I think easily the most interesting, weird team. I'm going to run through really quickly. I want to run through Team Liquid's wins because I think that this is a very important thing to talk about. They beat a Cloud9 team that went 0-3 because they didn't have their bot lane, and it was very clearly a weaker team. They won against CLG, who I still think they're better than most of the time anyway, so meh. They've beaten Dignitas, Flyquest in a good game, probably their best win of the year so far. They have beaten Golden Guardians. They have 2 wins against Immortals, and only 1 win out of 2 against TSM. Are you noticing a trend there? They have really not beaten a good team, like a top 3 team.
Yeah.
You know, again, you could say the Cloud9 game, they still had Fudge and Blabber and Jensen. Dude, that team still didn't win against anybody that weekend.
Yeah. And Fudge
yes,
had COVID at that time too. He was playing remote.
Yeah. He was sick. Yeah, there was a lot of things that were not going well that weekend for this team. Yeah, you're making excuses for them. Why don't you make excuses for TL? Because they have no excuses. This is the 5 squad. They brought in Giotto to be this amazing coach. It's not working, Team Liquid. 8-5. This team shouldn't be there. They should be 10-3. They should be 11-2. Their losses should be to Evil Geniuses and maybe 100 Thieves. That should be about it. They are not beating good teams, and they're losing to bad teams on occasion too. I love this team. I want them to be good. Bwipo is fun. He's a good player individually. Santorin is a great guy. He's individually a good player. Bjergsen is still warming up, I still think. I really, truly believe that, but he's not been playing great. He's not been bad, but he's not taking any risks, really. Ansama has been a huge disappointment, which is sad. And CoreJJ's honestly been a bit of a disappointment. So, in their drafts, it's either always losing drafts or anything either. They're not playing well. They're not a good team right now. They're the worst 8-5 team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, I mean, by showing the wins, they're beating the teams below them and they're losing to the teams above them. And if you look at that, you have no option other than to put them where they have shown you they belong, which is like 4th or 5th, and that's insane. I mean, that is crazy. I've heard a couple of comparisons to them so far this year. I know I threw out the one of like, damn, this team is just like Fnatic right now in the LEC of like, they did okay in the spring, kind of bombed out in playoffs, super disappointing summer. Somebody else threw out the 2021 G2 team that like kept stringing you along the whole year just to like to the very last game just to ultimately disappoint. And yeah, it's just these teams with the exciting players, the players that you love to watch, that you want to root for. And that's what maybe even makes you think that they are better than they are, because you want to think that. You really want this team to do well. But they're just not. And especially after this week, I believe they've actually gone 1-1 5 weeks in a row. Kind of crazy too. But yeah, they're 5-5 in their last 10, and that's a 500 record. I think they're playing like a 500 team. It's been kind of my thing the last couple of weeks. Is like, as soon as I'm ready to write TL off, then they win a game, but I'm done with that. You know, like this team, they're so disappointing. It's so crazy. So many things going wrong. That yeah, I mean, that's why I'm at the point where I do not think that they are going to Worlds.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that train too. And to give you an example, I mean, in the last 5 weekends, TSM have 3 wins. And it's not a good team. That's not a good team, including a win over Team Liquid. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't hate Team Liquid like I do. I love this team. I really do. Like, I have a Team Liquid jersey. Like, Jerem always loves to show that I have TL stuff. I'm not convinced. Now, I will say, if there's a team that's going to get a playoff boost, it's going to be this team. How many times has Bjergsen gone into the playoffs with a pretty okay team and then just absolutely popped off? Bwipo has done the same. Santorin has done the same. Or JJ has done the same. Hansama hasn't been around long enough to really do that, necessarily. There is something to be said about a playoff buff. A best-of-5 buff. If there is a team that's going to have it, it's going to be Team Liquid. But the problem, and I think the biggest difference this year, is I don't know that that's going to matter against Evil Geniuses. I don't know that that's going to matter against 100 Thieves, and I certainly don't think that's going to matter against Cloud9.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That, yeah, everyone wants to keep these narratives going, but the LCS is getting better. These other teams have a lot of players that have been to the playoffs before, that have won big games before, that also love these big moments, that love the crowd, that they've had the crowd taken away from them before. They've had to, like, they want to go, Worlds is in NA, they want to be there, they want to be building, adding onto their legacy, all that stuff. And even if TL levels up, like, TL needs the playoff buff. It's not like, oh, if we get the playoff buff, we might. They need a playoff buff, I think, right now for these series to be competitive.
I couldn't agree more. They have to have it. Otherwise, it's over. And it's like, well, obviously it's over, Rob. Like, why would you say that? Like, no, like, I don't think you understand. This team, Liquid team, will never, ever play together again if they do not make Worlds. They've said so as much. I'm sure Steve is quietly telling them that as well. It's not a threat, but, like, that's a lot of money to drop on a team to finish 4th place. Yeah, I don't think...
Yeah,
I can't see a world where that is an okay thing to happen.
Yeah, and part of me really wants his team to do well because I like a lot of the players and I see the potential in them. Part of me wants it to not do well because, damn, what is the offseason going to be like when all the TL players are on the market? Like, what are they going to do? I don't know. That is a crazy, crazy world that we might be living in, but I would be excited for as well.
That's a team. There are a lot of teams that I think would really like one or more of those pieces that could they could do a lot with a couple of those pieces.
But then TL needs to get players too, and that it all starts to get crazy.
Yeah. Oof.
It's coming soon.
The offseason is going to be fun. Yeah. I can just tell you guys that. I know Germ and I are already hearing things that will probably be coming out in the next couple of weeks. When Parth said this will probably be the craziest offseason yet, I don't think he is wrong. And I think that that's good. I think you guys should all be watching Germ's channel because he's going to be keeping up with these things and really freaking, like, guys, this is the fun part. This is where you get to really use your brain and armchair GM, which we are most certainly going to do this offseason. But for now, we're still in the season, and a lot of things are really starting to spice up. I mean, I don't know that I've ever been this excited about the last 5 games of the season, Germ. Like, honestly, the battle for 7th and 8th place is actually fun and interesting. Most of those teams will play each other. You know, the battle for top 2 is, I don't think as fun, but the battle for that 3rd and 4th place spot, I mean, this is good stuff. And, like, not only is this good stuff, but they're going to all play each other in the next 5 games.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to play each other in best of 5s.
Right.
At least once. Like, this should be the next 6 weeks of League of Legends should be some of the best LCS that we see. And I think the broadcast is leveling up. I loved the broadcast this weekend. I thought it was some of the best that we've seen yet.
Yeah.
The Evan line will forever be one of my favorite things that they have ever done. I found that to just...
That's funny.
Like, just so funny. For a guy who's as smart as Jad is, to spell even wrong was just so awesome.
Yeah, and not only the next 6 weeks, I mean, it's going to lead into Worlds, which is here. And I really think and hope that this Worlds in North America, I hope it's going to be big for us. I hope it's going to be big for North America. Like, I really think and the disadvantage that a lot of people have been talking about is the fact that Worlds for North America for years is like almost unwatchable. Like, not only our teams suck and we don't perform well, it's like you got to wake up at 4 a.m. on Tuesday to even watch it. Like, we're actually going to get to watch and enjoy this one, not only in person, which you should absolutely do, but even if you're just a fan at home, you're going to get to watch more Worlds than you've gotten to watch in the last like 3 or 4 years. And we're going to send some good teams. So even if they all do similarly to last year, which was like, oh, we almost got out of groups, we got one team out of groups, I think it's still going to be huge. But if we have a team do something this year, that could be really big for the LCS.
And I would expect it to happen because I think whoever the 3rd seed is absolutely going to just raffle stomp their way up into groups. I really just don't think it'll be very close. So, And you know, they don't have to go anywhere for the first time. NA gets a buff. We don't have to leave. We can stay here. Our players can sleep well and be in their own beds. That's so much bigger than people realize. Like, these teams will be able to practice in California and just fly a 2.5 hour flight down to Mexico City for that first game, that first series of games. Like, I'm just telling you guys, like, not trying to be too hypey, and I'm sure I'm going to be let down. You know, I'm almost sure that I'm going to be, you know, but this is a good time to be an LCS fan, and you should go tell your friends, everybody you know. Get people to watch this stuff. It's actually very enjoyable. It's very interesting. I'm sure most of you have friends who are at least intrigued by League of Legends. It's as easy to get into now as it's ever been. Just make sure they mute all chat. All right, so we both have our hot takes. Week yours is that Cloud9, 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses will be the world's representatives. Mine is that Immortals will not only make playoffs, but take a team to best of fives. I still think they're going to lose it, but, that'll be what we'll be going for.
Leave that part out.
I'm okay with it, whatever. Like, it's still a hot take. I mean, they're full game back now. That's a lot with 5 games left and not a lot of good teams for them to win against. So, including their Dignitas game, which they don't have. They're one of the only, of the TSM and Guardians, both of those teams have Dignitas. Immortals don't. So, that's a pretty big buff for those two teams. What I was gonna say is as well. Last week, what did the totals end up coming out to?
I honestly didn't even check the final because it was like last time I looked it was so not close. When I looked it was like 75-25, and I saw some comment of like, "Wow, that double lift take might be the worst take I've ever seen in my life." It was probably like more vulgarly worded than that, but like something along those lines. So I was like, "All right, I'm not looking at this again. That's enough of that."
Fair enough. So Jerem will be doing his punishment later this week. What is our punishment for this week to what is likely going to be a loss for me, I'm guessing, at this point?
We'll see. So this week we need you guys to get involved a little bit, and I'll definitely be tweeting it out and trying to get some people engaged. But we're going to be doing, the good old, the classic meme, the blank white sign. We're going to be holding up a sign with something on it. I don't know if it's going to say something good, bad, if it's going to make fun of us. Who knows? You guys can make it whatever you want. We're going to give you the blank easel, and you guys are going to have to make the memes go crazy. We're just going to post a pic out to Twitter, and we're going to see what happens.
Oh, man. I'm very intrigued to see how this one goes. There's a lot of things that can be said about both of us.
Yes.
One good thing is if you want to see us in person, by the way, we will be both in Chicago for the LCS finals. So stay tuned for more information on that. But the Rob and Germ show takes our talents to Chicago. Not to Miami, but to Chicago.
Yeah. We're going all over this year. It's going to be a fun one. But yeah, I'm super excited. Houston was sick. I got to talk to a lot of people. It was really, really cool. A lot of people coming up to me and stuff. I hope Chicago's just as crazy. Back in the home state. I'm excited to be back. It's been a while, so I think it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a blast. And yeah, sure. I'm Rob, and this has been Hot Takes. We'll see y'all next week.
All right, guys. Peace.